Jeremy Parsons, FLI Structures. I've been talking to Andy about a solution that we've got for problematic 610 piles, which we'll run through in a minute. Basically, just a bit of an introduction to the company. We're a structural steel manufacturer based in Gloucester. So we've got the capability, and we are indeed at the moment working on the Great Western project, building the manufacturing the structures down there, so the OLE structures, which are slightly different from yours because they're the fur and fray designs. Doing some of the piles down there as well where they need to. They just ordered this system from us. And basically, the system is about the problems you have when you put this in the ground. Two main issues that I'm sure you guys will be aware of is that refusal before getting to the proper depth, and things going in out of rotation, and you've then not got enough play to get your structure on the bosses in the right orientation for the track. The method of doing that at the moment is to cut off below the bosses in whichever problem you have, whether that's refusal or out of rotation. Obviously, if it's refusal, typically you have more of a cut off because you've got to cut it down to the right length, the right height. If you're out of rotation, you just cut it off to the bottom of the holes here. But then the issue becomes one of putting the bosses back in. So you're reprofiling the tops exactly as they stand now. You're putting the bosses in. You've got to do a weld preparation for butt welding, which and I'm not a welder, but apparently is a real pain in the neck even if you're doing it in the factory, never mind if you're doing it out on site. You've then obviously got the welding to do. You need to get the bosses in. You've got to get it repainted. You need the bosses. You need the welds inspected because there was an issue in London where the wrong type of welding was used. So Network Rail are quite hot now on inspecting these welds to make sure they're the right thickness, etc. So that's the process, and we've done that process. We did that on a job at Acton for Volkers. Actually, there's only with Volkers guys here. I know they're part of the alliance here, but so we did that for them down there. And then Trevor Burden is our engineering lead. Him and his team sort of looked at it and thought, you know, we can do better than that, and we can make it simpler. So we come up with this system where you cut the bosses off exactly the same way. There's no way around that because they're either out of rotation or refused too early. So you have to take those off. But following that, the process doesn't involve any real hot works. There's no welding to be done on site. Everything's going to be bolted. And what the guys will show you today is really how simple that is and the process. And then you'll have a finished article that end. These will all be staying here. So if you've got any of your colleagues that can't make it today that want to have a look at it, any of the construction guys on site that may be putting this together at some point, if they want to come along, they can just play with this. These can sit here and you can play with them to your heart's content. So as I say, you'd normally cut the bosses off. For the purposes of today, it's not worth doing that. I mean, the guys here. This is Duncan from our factory and Trevor. Effectively, they would grind that off.
Does it get grinded the whole way around, or just the tube, just the bosses?
No, you grind all the way around. Take the complete top off so that it finishes up looking like that. Yeah, so that would just get taken straight off. When we've done this before, somebody said, well, why don't we use flame cutters to get it off and this and the other? We found that grinding gives you the best result. It's easier to get it as level as you can. Yeah, you're marking it out to the bottom of here typically, to the bottom of these cutouts. And you can get fairly level finish with a grinder, more so than you can with a flame cutter. So if you use a flame cutter, you're just messing about afterwards trying to make it right. So that's
more equipment to take to site as well, because you're going to have a generator anyway to do the drilling. Whereas you've got a flame cutter, you've got to take the bottles and everything else. More stuff to do.
As I say, our experience says that the grinding is the best way to do it. So I'll pass it over to Duncan now. You'll have to imagine that we've cut that off and we've finished up with something that looks almost exactly like that. So we've got a nice level surface on it. Obviously there's no connection detail on there for the structure to go onto. So that's when Duncan cuts in and starts with his rotor broach, and he will show you what goes on next.
So what we've got is a template which we've manufactured, which is it's got the holes positioned in exactly the right place. So that once you've got the template on, you can just tack it up and straight away you're ready to draw.
Where are your orientation marks? Assuming it's rifled and it's...
You've got to set its line down straight through it. Because when we've done it before now, we've been line tracks, and normally you've got the bosses long tracks or the other way around. So you have your centre line across here. You measure off the track to the centre line.
So
So you can always
that's
say
the dividing line down that there.
Yep.
That's parallel to the track.
yeah, basically, yeah. So
track
so you
sort
can
of
work it
there.
any way you want to. Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, gotcha.
Absolutely. But of course, the thing is, when you've got that without the top on, as it stands in a minute, when you get up there, rotation, the material is the rotation. Then you have to make sure that your template's in the right place and you're punching the holes in the right place. So again, for the purposes of this, we'll drill a couple of holes. It's quite a simple process. I'm sure you've seen this or similar previously. They use that plate again. That's something we've discovered doing this. The plate is used because it's difficult to attach the rotor approach to the curve of the file. So they just slap the plate on there, and then sorry. He's going to drill there now so that pile is now in the correct location on the track. We have done a couple of jobs where we've had this system designed onto the pile before it be driven into the ground, so the bosses were just left off the design. So you've driven into the ground, a drill drill pile. And what we've done with that is that we've over-drilled a number of holes so that no matter where that goes into the ground in terms of its orientation, even though it's drilled, you then just need to select the correct holes to put your tabs onto. So there is an alternative. If you knew, for instance, that there was an issue across, I don't know, half a dozen piles, you designed them without the bosses and just drilled them into the ground drilled, yeah, there is another option. I've just had a question asked of me. Sorry, I don't know your name. About the approvals. Nick. Nick's just brought up the question of the approvals, and I'll kick this over to Trevor in a second, as I say, he's one of our engineers who's designed this. Just to say that we have now had it approved on Great Western, but they are using Series 1 fur and fray structures. Now, in our view, there shouldn't be, well, probably no difference, certainly very little difference in how we approach doing it with the UK 1 series of structures, because we can work it out for the various load sizes and we can produce Form 3. So are you now with rail, Nick?
No, lower on.
Lower on.
We're all Staffordshire aligned. We're all Staffordshire.
Yeah, sorry, I know, but I'm thinking in terms of the approvals process, we need to, from our perspective, we can do it whichever way you guys want us to do it. We just need you to tell us what the process is. Do we need a complete new Form 1, Form 2 and Form 3? Are you happy with just a new Form 3? Do we not need anything because we've already got it approved for fur and fray?
I think we need sight of the Form 1 so we can see whether that's specific to UK1.
Well, I'll hand that over to Trevor and he can tell you what we've got and what we've done.
The design is based on the limiting factors that come from the structure. So we've designed them for a couple of different bands, and the loads are actually put onto the drawing so you can immediately see if it's suitable for the structure that you've got. I think there's only one of the Great Western structures that we haven't done at the moment, which is one of the massive structures. So if they need that, we'll do that as a bespoke item. But for the moment, we've covered sort of, probably 95% of their structures, and the Series 1 tend to be heavily loaded, also the UK 1 and Series 2. So I think you find the loads we've got probably cover these cases already.
I agree, it should be straightforward.
Yeah.
Has there been any consultation with the RAM or the maintainer there about sort of their preferences to whether they like the idea of this solution as compared with welding bosses on site?
Well, we've had no adverse comments in that sense. The RAM signed off the Form 1 on web, so he's happy with it. And we have left maintenance space to see once we put these on. There's actually a gap here, so if at some point you need to replace the bolts, you can still get in and take a light and put the ones in. So it is left open. Yeah, well, we'll put the head on the inside and that on the outside, and you can get to the outside.
So we can probably actually start that. As you can see, for the purpose of the demonstration, obviously just drill the one hole there, but you would drill 12. We've assumed on this that there's a 6-boss connection. So if there's a 6-boss connection to your structures, then there's a 6-tab connection to your structures. And I know that some of them do take a 4-boss, and so that will be adjusted. Obviously, then there's only the 8 holes around the.
Just that conversation about approvals. Would your point be that this is a more robust solution, better quality assurance than trying to do a weld on site?
Yeah, certainly. Welding penetration of welds on site is really tricky and it takes a long time. Whereas to do all the quality critical work in a factory with this system, all you're doing is just drilling a hole and popping something on.
So your suggestion would be that it renders that solution redundant?
I do.
Ideally, we don't want to do any of this.
No, absolutely. This is one of the situations where you're driving piles in the ground and it's a bit of an oh shit moment.
Well, we've been on jobs where we know it happens sooner.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, as I say, when we're working down on Gwyrm, and they're putting 16,000 piles in the ground, so there's a fair chance that somewhere down the line there's going to be a problem. So there we go. So that's sort of how it all works. He is the man. Yeah. Well, he's the man really. If he's got any questions, give Trevor a ring. We can even come and see him again if we need to and talk him through it or whatever's necessary. Yeah, that's not a problem. And as I said, this will also.
I was surprised at that though. I had thought that the system
allowed rotation.
Well,
Seeing those starter holes, that's what I thought it was.
Well, in remedial form, it only allows rotation in the sense that you've got to get your rotation.
Yeah, I understand.
In its design form, you drill 24 holes around the top, and you can't then be out of rotation.
Yeah.
And that's we've done that on
Most of the
in the flange. The overlay.
double channel, and on those ones would be actually just not a hole for that.
So presumably on our file, I've got all these first contact. It's probably quite cool.
happy.
Yeah, I'll sit down.
And just But if there's something we do need to talk about specifically, if Jason needs us, then give us a call and we can set up a meeting up and come and have a chat with him. And talk whatever we need to. But as I say, in the short term, this can be left here and you can.
Yeah, leave that.